Welcome back. You're watching On the Record. We're in conversation with the CEO of Air India on what the future holds. What is going to be the brand promise that you now make to customers?
Well, the brand promise has to be substantiated by capabilities, in fact. And so, yes, the future Air India might carry, might look a little bit different. It might represent itself in a slightly different way, but that's something for the future to be determined. Certainly no decision.
Is the Maharaja coming back or not?
Well, the Maharaja is still there. We have many, many assets after 90 years of heritage. We have many, many assets that are at Air India's disposal, and we want to use them all to their best advantage. At the same time as we represent the company in a modern way that represents India in the way India is today and wants to be represented overseas. Nod to the past, but also acknowledge the future and acknowledge who we're competing against. Air India was the best airline in the world in the late 60s. But doing now what we did then wouldn't make us the best airline in the world. We have to benchmark against the best and do what it takes to get there. And there's every resolve and commitment, both from the employees as well as from shareholder, and certainly that's my mission, to make sure we get there.
Mm-hmm. One of the big areas of focus for Air India, and because it enjoys the advantage, the international routes, the international slots that Air India has to its advantage and to its benefit, how are you going to be able to capitalize on those in the next few months, in the foreseeable future?
Aircraft. So restoring those grounded aircraft to service, leasing in the aircraft I spoke about, as well as others to come. It really is a function of how many aircraft can we get in and get deployed to both restore connectivity to where Air India used to be, but then expand the connectivity further. So just in the last few months, we've increased frequency to Vancouver, to London, to Birmingham, to New York, to San Francisco. We've opened San Francisco from Bangalore. We've increased flights to San Francisco and New York from Mumbai. There's been significant expansion, even though it might have happened a bit under the radar. But that is really just a taste of things to come.
What is the revenue mix between domestic and international at this point in time, and both in terms of pricing and realization? I would imagine that international does better for you, if you can give us some color on that.
Well, I won't go into specifics, but yes, the international market is more lucrative. Partly because it's also a little bit unusual circumstance, given it's still post-COVID with respect to capacity, and also there's geopolitical issues that have changed traffic flows a little bit. But I won't go into more specifics. We see certainly the immediate economic opportunity being international.
But with the split in terms of revenue, international, domestic,
we
no?
won't go there,
won't go there yet. Okay, I'm hoping that you will get into the area of consolidation, which is going to be an added complexity for Air India. But that's the plan: AirAsia and Air India Express, and eventually Vistara and Air India. And yesterday Singapore Airlines put out a statement saying that they have initiated talks. They're confidential, so I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get from you. But let me address this issue. What's happening on AirAsia and Air India Express, where the intent has been made very clear, and there is a target of 2024 to get it done, and then Air India and Vistara?
So, Tata is a common shareholder in 4 airlines. I think they've also made the statement that they see the future being one airline, two platforms, or one platform, 2 airlines. I can't recall which way it went. Clearly, having a low-cost business that is both international and domestic makes commercial and logical sense, but we don't yet own all of AirAsia India. We're thinking about how we would go about the process of integrating them, and hopefully that comes to pass. With respect to full service, there's really nothing I can say. As you rightly noted, there's an acknowledgement that there's conversation happening between the shareholders. That statement was very clear that it's at the exploratory stage and no definitive decisions have been made. So we'll just have to see what happens after that.
But from an operations point of view, as well as a planning point of view, does it constrain you? Because there is all of this uncertainty and you don't know when or how this is eventually going to pan out. So as the man who's running and trying to steer the ship at this point in time, does this add to your challenges?
Well, we are very, very focused. We recently launched the Vihan.ai transformation plan, which is a 5-year roadmap. And that is focused very much on the transformation and growth and the restoration of Air India to world class. And it is focused on Air India. So we're recruiting, all of our efforts are focused on Air India, and to the extent that there are some other opportunities or resources or capabilities that come our way that we receive with gratitude, but it's nothing that's standing in our way of transforming Air India.
Mm-hmm. You talked about the use of technology and how you've been able to sort of upgrade your app and so on and so forth. And that is a big focus area for a lot of airlines, including many Indian airlines. And that is an area of expertise for the House of Tatas as well. Where have we already started to see much more of the integration and the synergy play itself out so far?
Well, across the board. Other parts of the Tata Group have been contributing significantly with respect to providing services to us, obviously a commercial basis. Some of our management team have come from Tata Digital, TCS, other parts of the Tata Group, and bring with them understanding of how different parts of the conglomerate can help. Tata Technologies, for example, Air India's seats, as I think has been acknowledged, sometimes the recline didn't work so well, sometimes there were some components that needed to be replaced. And in a scarcity of resources environment, that couldn't happen. We've been able to go out and buy all of those spares for the most part and recover this, but there are some spares that we couldn't get. And so Tata Technologies has actually done 3D modelling of these parts and constructed these parts from scratch and given us ship sets full of these things so we can go and recover the quality of our product. So all parts of Tata are coming in. For example, Tata Motors have a very, very established procurement process, and we've had some folk from Tata Motors come in and really help us design a world-class procurement system that can then support Air India. We've had teams from Tata Business Excellence, which is a program whereby executives, typically young executives from different companies, come together to really go and do business diagnosis and recommendations and analysis for other companies in the Tata Group. There's been a fantastic team of men and women with us for 6 months doing this sort of assistance within Air India, and we're now executing on a number of these recommendations. So in another sports analogy, I guess it's a full court press of effort and attention.
Well, yes, and I would imagine it's only going to accelerate as we move forward. But, I want to understand from you, as an outsider who's worked in the aviation market outside of India, and now you're here operating Air India. This is an exciting market from a demand perspective, from a growth perspective, but it's also been a market where we've seen many airlines launch and many airlines shut down. What, to your mind, are the specific issues that you believe are peculiar to the Indian aviation sector? Are they largely regulatory, or do you believe that it's just poor choices being made by airlines that have run in this country, or a little bit of both?
No, I wouldn't want to get into those specifics, to be honest, because many of the reasons that cause I guess the ebb and flow that you describe no longer prevail, or don't prevail, at least in the future horizon we're looking at. We think the ingredients for success are very, very clear now. We have a geographic position which is second to none. We have economic growth, which is the strongest of any major country. We have a 1.4 billion population and a 35 million diaspora that is the most affluent of most diaspora in any country they exist. We have patient capital with big ambitions to support Air India. We have a resurgent India that is representing itself strongly on the world stage. We have geopolitics, which is changing supply lines and supply chains and people's view of where production and manufacturing can be best done. All of these ingredients lead to what I see as just an exciting decade, an unprecedentedly exciting decade for Indian aviation. And so there's no better place to be in the world than here right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Since you believe that this is going to be the golden decade for Indian aviation, specifically in terms of Air India, future growth opportunities, some of which you've just outlined, but new revenue opportunities, new revenue streams, ancillary revenue, for instance, which has been something that other airlines have been looking at. Cargo operations have kicked in very well for some of the other airlines as well. If you can give us some sense of what we should expect on that front, and also from a customer point of view, I understand that you're bringing in premium economy as a class for customers. What else can we expect in the mix?
Well, I don't want to give away too many trade secrets, but there are also many things that are not secret that we just can and will do better. For example, cargo. As we ramp up a wide-body fleet, that brings with it a very large cargo capacity in the belly hold. It can be a much stronger revenue contributor than it is now. Loyalty. Our loyalty proposition is not the best. The membership base is not as large as it should be. And the opportunity perhaps for a linkage with Tata Neu or other loyalty programs represents significant opportunity. Ancillary revenues, yes, premium economy is one, but the low-cost side of the business, ancillary revenues and low-cost airlines typically 25, maybe even 30% of their total revenues. There's an opportunity there. Perhaps learn from, say, what AirAsia does and apply that to Air India Express or vice versa. So there's plenty of opportunities for us to dial the needle up. And then, frankly, to use more modern technology in some areas. So revenue management is vital for today's airline. There's improvements we can make in that, and we will.
So since we've been using a lot of sporting analogies, let me end by asking you, are you ready for a Virat Kohli type innings or a more Rahul Dravid sort of innings?
I was watching TV the other night. I wish I could recall the player that did it, but he hit 6 sixes in 1 over, and whilst we would all aspire to do that, it happens very rarely. So as I say, this is a test match, not a T20. We'll keep hitting those 1s and 2s and aspire to hit those 6s whenever the opportunity allows.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on The Record. We wish you and the team at Air India the very best of luck, and hopefully the next time we speak we will get a little more from you in terms of details, but appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much, Sherry.
Well, that's it then on this edition of On The Record from all of us here on the team. Goodbye, many thanks for watching. We'll see you again shortly.